In the summer of 2003, football changed forever. A Russian oligarch, Roman Abramovich, had wanted to own a club, and 2 months earlier, he tried to acquire Arsenal but was told it was not for sale. He inquired about multiple clubs, including Manchester United, and still didn't get any good news. In July 2003, after a meeting of about 30 minutes with Ken Bates, the then owner of Chelsea Football Club, a deal was struck. Roman Abramovich paid £140 million to acquire the London club, becoming by some margin the richest owner in English football history. I guess you may be curious already. Where will a 36-year-old man get such an amount of money? Now, this is it. It is the early 90s in Russia, and a young man who had lost his mom at the age of 1 and his dad in an accident at the age of 3 find himself on the streets of Moscow, willing to sell anything and make profit out of every other thing he laid his hands on. By 1996, at the age of 30, Roman Abramovich had become close to the Russian president at the time, Boris Yeltsin, and had moved into an apartment inside the Kremlin at the invitation of Yeltsin's family. Years later, he became the owner of the biggest oil company in Russia at the time, Sibneft. And yeah, that was where the money came from. Now, back to Chelsea. The club was on its knees during the time of the takeover. They were already heading towards bankruptcy, and a 2-1 victory over Liverpool on the final match day of the 2002-2003 season had just earned them a place in the Champions League the following season. And sadly, that was the only success they could boast of. It was now time for Roman to save the club, and he started immediately. In his famous interview with the BBC, he said, "I don't want to throw money away, but it's really about having fun, and that means success and trophies." And that he really meant it. A decade later, Sir Alex Ferguson would reveal he was approached to become a Chelsea manager in 2003. This is a clear indication of how grand his plans were. With no financial fair play rule at the time, there wasn't any restriction on how much a club could spend. After that summer, 10 of the top most expensive transfers were done by Chelsea, 7 of them being in the top 10. Top players like Hernan Crespo, Glenn Johnson, Claude Makélélé, Juan Sebastian Veron were some of the guys who joined Chelsea Football Club. The spending saw a good return the following season, with Chelsea finishing as runners-up in the Premier League, their best league finish for 49 years, and also reaching the Champions League semis after beating Arsenal's Invincibles in the quarter-final in a dramatic fashion. They, however, lost to Monaco in the semi-final. To Roman Abramovich, this was less than enough, and therefore Claudio Ranieri got the sack regardless. It was time to make a statement signing to the dugout. The final piece of the puzzle was the young Portuguese manager who had just conquered Europe with FC Porto. His name was Jose Mourinho. The task for him was simple, yet complicated. Break the dominance of Arsenal and Man United and win the Champions League. After his announcement, it was time for him to face the press. While other foreign managers start with a gratitude for being given the opportunity to manage in the Premier League, Jose went bizarre.
I'm European champion, so I'm not one of the bottle. I think I'm a special one.
This statement went wild across the world, and before you know it, almost every sports paper in the world got one phrase in front of their cover, and that was the special one. In his first meeting with the players, he said, "I am a champion, and if you follow me, you will be champions." He outlined the date and the venue they will be crowned, and the rest was history. One of the players who was still struggling to make a mark was Frank James Lampard. Immediately, Jose saw him in the dressing room. He called him into his office and said, A year ago, Deco was the player he is now, but no one knew. I made him European Footballer of the Year. You are just as good as Zidane, Vieira, or Deco. You are the best player in the world. Now you just have to prove it. And right from that moment, as you may have imagined, Frank Lampard became the deadliest beast ever unleashed by the club. And he was all they needed to put the entire country under their feet. Jose didn't walk into a league he would have thought he could dominate straight away. When he looked to his side, he saw Arsene Wenger and Arsenal. And when he turned to the other side, it was Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United. That made his job a lot more difficult. His first game in the Premier League was against no other club than Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United. And as you may have imagined, he won. Ida Johnson got the vital goal around the 14th minute. And just like a dream in their hearts, Chelsea were coming to the very top. Right to the very top. That win was not just a statement for Sir Alex Ferguson and United, but it was a statement for everyone around the world that Chelsea were capable of doing the unthinkable. Jose was an expert in getting his players to love and respect him, and the unity within the club was evident. They completed 4 wins in the month of August over United, Birmingham City, Crystal Palace and Southampton, conceding just 1 goal. The impressive run continued, and by the end of April, the Blues sat top of the league with an unassailable lead of 11 points after 35 games. However, the story had already ended on the 30th of April when Chelsea travelled to the Reebok Stadium, knowing very well that a victory and all the 3 points would make them champions of England for the first time in half a century. Yes, he got that right. 50 years. Despite the tense goalless first half, Lampard grabbed onto a lost ball, bullied one defender to the ground, went past the other before smashing it in, and 15 minutes later, he ended it all by running the whole length of the pitch in a counter-attack, dribbled past the goalkeeper before putting down the goal of the title. 50 years had gone by before Roman and Jose made it all happen. It was an inconceivably fairy tale narrative, a barely fathomable twist, but for Chelsea, none of those mattered. They completed the historic campaign with a new Premier League record of 95 points, 12 points clear of Arsenal, the previous winners. 29 wins, 14 of those at home, another record, and 1,025 consecutive minutes without conceding a goal. And finally, only 15 goals conceded. Another record till this day, with just 1 defeat all season. After just 2 seasons of the Roman era, Chelsea were champions of England. If the other clubs saw this season as an impressive one, they had no idea what was coming next.